local First Nations community, and for all of you who have traveled from great distance to be with us to celebrate Indigenous culture, of our First Nations, and in so doing shows support for the life-saving work of Poundmaker Lodge. Thanks to Brad Cardinal, thanks again to all the chiefs who are here. I also want to acknowledge I have some of the ministers of the Alberta Cabinet here. We have your local MLA, for Bourneville St. Albert Associate Minister Dale Nally. We also have Minister of Indigenous Affairs Rick Wilson. This is his 15th powwow this summer. He's only been on the job for 3 months, not bad. He speaks pretty good Cree too, by the way. And we also have Associate Minister for Addictions and Mental Health, Jason Dewan, who's a big fan of Poundmaker Lodge. And we know that Poundmaker Center has proven for over 40 years through intervention and treatment are the path to recovery. Of course, this center is named after one of the great chiefs, Chief Poundmaker, who was the adopted son of the great Blackfoot chief, Crowfoot. And Poundmaker Lodge is partly about peace. It's about bringing people together. It's about healing wounds and division. And the partnership, the father-son relationship between Crowfoot and Poundmaker was a critical moment in peace and healing between the Cree and Blackfoot people 150 years ago that paved the way for the treaties. And so we honor their memory and we seek to continue in their legacy. We also acknowledge that his conviction, Chief Poundmaker's conviction for supposed involvement in the 1885 uprising was a complete injustice. And I want to thank the Government of Canada for having recognized this and granted a posthumous apology and exoneration for the unjust conviction of Chief Poundmaker. The truth is that Chief Poundmaker's intervention during the uprising in 1885 was to seek peace, and he helped to save lives. He could have led his war council out and to have killed many militia as they were retreating from that conflict near Battleford. But he stopped that. He saved lives. He was a lifesaver, and so it is very appropriate that Poundmaker Lodge, which saves lives, should be named after a lifesaver, Chief Poundmaker. On behalf of the government of Alberta, the Alberta Crown, and all Albertans, I want to thank Poundmaker Center for having rescued thousands of people from the scourge of addiction over the last 40 years. All of those saved lives are proof that intervention and treatment are the proven path to recovery. And we should never write people off. We should never tell people that the only kind of compassion is to give them a needle and to enable their addiction. We must always show them that there is a path to treatment and to recovery, and it can be life-lasting, it can be life-saving, it can be life-changing, and that is the message of Poundmaker Center. So I want you to know that in the Government of Alberta, you have strong allies for what you are doing. This is why, for the first time in our history, we've appointed a Minister for Addiction and Mental Health, and he's consulting with our First Nations, Poundmaker Center, and other people involved in drug and addiction treatment and recovery to ensure that we have a better path forward. A continuum of care. A continuum of care where there are adequate detox beds, and then there are enough treatment centers for those coming out of detox, and then there are strong recovery programs for those coming out of treatment, and they can have a lifelong support from the community. And the Aboriginal communities can teach all of us about the strength and centrality, the importance of community support. We need you to help us in that, because too many of our Indigenous people have had their lives upended, their families destroyed by addiction. We must together, all of us, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, all of us, fight back against the scourge of drugs and addiction. I believe, and the province of Alberta believes in you. We believe in your ability to recover, overcome an addiction. The Chief Poundmaker was a man of great strength, courage, and wisdom. When the buffalo were gone and his people were suffering and in pain, he lifted them up with a vision for a peaceful and prosperous future. Let us look to him today for inspiration to solve one of the greatest challenges of our time. Together we can free children from the bonds of addiction and use the treatments proven here at Poundmaker Center to achieve their recovery. Let me offer one last word. Every time, Grand Chief, little child, I come and go from Alberta's legislature, I always moved to see the statue of Chief Crowfoot in the main rotunda of the Alberta legislature. And I want to make a commitment that as long, before I end my service as Premier, we will have somewhere on the legislature grounds a bust or a statue of Chief Poundmaker to recognize him as one of the fathers of our life together here in Alberta. God bless you. Hi, hi.